It's Friday, and it's time for our Agile Not So Agile podcast of the week. And, I thought for today I want to talk about something that's near and dear to me, and that's sleep. Sounds funny when I say it, right? But there have been so many studies about sleep and about how many hours of sleep we need and what's going to help us get into a good rhythm and what helps us burn more calories, and are we being lazy if we sleep in? Do we really need to wake up super early? How do sleep schedules and our rhythm and all these other things affect the way that we're going to operate? And there's so many different, and I'm going to go here, conflicting reports about what's good for you, what's not good for you. We all know we need a good night's sleep, but how does that impact us, and what does it even mean? I mean, I remember the days back in high school and college where we stayed up late. And now, kids even more than ever are staying up later than we did. And they're just watching junk on social media and sleeping all day. And that's not necessarily okay. I mean, if you can chalk it up and say, well, everybody's different. I'm just a night owl. Well, there's a difference between being a night owl and a night like sloth. I don't know. I was trying to think of the right word. But sometimes your activity is directly reflective of your sleep habits. And what I mean by that is I can tell you firsthand. So last week I had an incident happen. And the incident was at about 11:30, 12 midnight, right? So 12 a.m. The electricity went out. Now, normally that wouldn't be a big deal, right? Everybody would just say, well, no AC, we're just going back to sleep. But for me, I wear a CPAP. Now, I don't know if any of you wear a CPAP, but if you wear a CPAP and the electricity goes out, that means that A, you can go to sleep, but you're not getting any good sleep. The sleep that you're getting is just trash. You're going to be snoring the entire time. I mean, I snored to the point where I woke myself up a couple of times. And it was like this until 2:30 a.m., which on the surface seems like, oh, you only lost a few hours of sleep. But that hard sleep that I got before, it it made my throat sore from snoring. It made my body not relaxed. I had lack of oxygen. I felt lethargic the next day. I felt like energy had been zapped from my body. I felt like I couldn't think straight. I felt like I was on a cloud and everything was just kind of going, and that's not good, right? So what you need to remember is this valuable piece of advice. So Kevin O'Leary said that he asked a question, and I'll never forget it. It was at a business conference, and he asked a question. He says, when does your workday begin, or when does your day begin? And I thought that was a great conference. And he said, your day begins the night before. Let me make sure that I explain that again. He said, your day begins the night before that day. So you need to be prepared mentally and emotionally the night before for your day the next day. And if you can do that, it's going to help you get through the sleep cycle, and it's going to help you understand what you need to do to make things better. Now, another thing that he pointed out to me that I thought was really interesting was he said that a lot of times people complain that they can't get to sleep because there are thoughts racing through their mind or things that they're thinking of that they need to do, or there's just some batch process going on in their mind and they can't get relaxed. So his answer to that is, he says, take sticky notes and leave a sticky notepad right by your sink when you brush your teeth at night. He says, then take the 2 or 3 things that you feel like you need to do that are going to race through your mind and things that you don't want to forget. And it can be silly things. It can be simple things like, I need to go to the grocery tomorrow, whatever it might be. He says, write those down. So that way you don't have to think about them. He says, write them down. He says, and stick those on your mirror. He says, now for the first few weeks, he says, you're not going to necessarily see an impact of this. He says, but then over time, what you're going to quickly discover is that because you wrote something down, because you took the time to write down what was going on and you kind of, put it on the mirror, he says, you've reminded yourself, and that thought will be free from your mind. So then when you go to rest or relax, you don't have these empty, pointless, crazy thoughts just kind of rolling around like a barrel in your mind. These things are taken care of, and you know that you're going to take care of them the next day, and you've got it all written down, so you're set. And that will help you relax your mind when you go to bed. And I thought that was really smart, because a lot of times we tend to dwell on the things we need to do. or we tend to dwell on the things that we try to remember, and it leads us into this cadence that we can't get a good night's sleep. Pretty interesting, right? Also, if there's something exciting or something that you're looking forward to, it's okay to have high energy and look forward to something and be excited, but don't let that excitement rule your sleep time. If you can calm down before you go to bed, relax, whether it's reading a passage from a good book and doing it that way, or whether it's listening to something that soothes you. For me, I listen to ocean sounds most nights, and that helps. Or I listen to a certain frequency. So I believe in listening to some of the meditation frequencies, and those help me really get into a nice sound sleep, which is where you need to be. And whether it's forest sounds or beach sounds or whatever it is, find the thing that works for you and get out of the zone of, I have all these things in my life going on, and take yourself from it, remove yourself from those, so that you have no excuse. The last thing I'll leave you with is one piece of advice that I got from a sealer when I was sealed to my wife, and Paul Royal. He said, "Never go to bed angry," and I'm sure you've heard this before. But when he said never go to bed angry, for me, I thought, oh, well, he means, really upset. No, he didn't mean really upset. He means if you have any contention in your mind at all, if you're upset about something, angry, or if you just have something that you wish you could have done differently, maybe you made a mistake that day that you didn't correct, or whatever the case may be. These are all things that will help break your rhythm of getting a good night's sleep. So he says, anytime you have something like that in your mind, try to resolve it before you go to bed. And, don't wait until the last minute to do it. If you wait until you're in your bed to try to resolve it, you're likely not going to have time to do it, and you're going to have a terrible night's sleep. But if you can get those things resolved before your head ever hits the pillow, you're going to be able to rest a whole lot easier, and it's going to make things so much better for you. So keep those things in mind, because they are possible, and I can tell you I do these things firsthand. And my rule is if I get 7 hours of sleep at night, I'm good to go. That's going to do it. I hope this helped you. And, I know that we have a lot of topics we discussed, but I just want to make sure I say how much I appreciate all of you being here, especially all of you who subscribe. We really appreciate it. And if there's anything we could ever do for you, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile. Until next week, my friends, do take care.